Subscribe the Unique Academy's YouTube channel and press the bell icon for latest updates and videos.
Shantanu, take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
This is your third attempt.
Sir.
So what happened in the first two attempts?
Sir, in 2015 I attempted, that time I did not clear my prelim.
Okay.
Thereafter 16-17 I took MPSC examination and that's why I did not focus on UPSC.
Okay.
In last year, that is 2018, again I lost prelim.
Oh.
And this time
You
I
have
could clear.
come all the way for the interview. Okay. So as far as the MPSC thing is concerned, are you posted anywhere as of now?
No, I did not clear main exam.
In the MPSC?
Sir.
Okay. So what led to this shift from UPSC to MPSC?
Sir, I did not want to go outside state. That was my first notion in my mind. But later on, when I studied some examples, like Jammu and Kashmir, some of the IAS officers posted in Jammu and Kashmir, and then my mom and dad persuaded me that this is not a work culture we work in. So it's good to have a big dream and an integrated nation picture of the nation. So that's why I shifted again.
This is not the work culture. What is not the work culture?
That sticking to your state as the only thing.
Okay.
So it's better to have a comprehensive idea of India, its nation.
Okay. So you have never traveled outside Maharashtra?
No.
Never? For no purpose whatsoever?
No, sir.
That's very interesting. Absolutely interesting. Okay, so what I gather from this is you have done a B.Tech and that is in production engineering.
Production engineering, sir.
Okay, that's way away in 2015.
2015.
Am I making a mistake about it?
No, sir.
You have a CGPA of 9.83?
Sir.
As high as that?
Sir.
Oh my god. So you have never worked in industry?
Sir, I wanted to work in industry for a couple of years after graduating, but the problem was that in 2015 the placement scenario was not good. So my college invented a new placement system wherein you have to write a bond. And after getting your mark sheet, if you don't join the company the way the students had been doing a couple of years before, in that scenario what they did, they will stop your convocation. That is the degree grading. So that was a danger for me. So I skipped that placement drive.
But does that system work?
I'm not aware, sir.
Okay.
Probably not.
Okay. So in this batch of 2015 that graduated in production engineering out of this college, how many students were there in it?
52 in my batch.
In your batch, 52 students.
Sir.
And how many of them are doing civil services?
None of them.
So you're the only one?
I'm the only one. One fellow is doing, but in MPSC, not UPSC.
Okay. You have never interned as part of your production engineering graduation?
No, sir, because that started after I graduated. Compulsory internship.
In 2016?
Thereafter it started as a compulsory thing. That compulsory one semester you have to do work somewhere. In my days it was only one major project, but unfortunately even in that space, many things we did in a small workshop. So there is nothing like a formal internship I did not do anywhere.
And what is the project about?
Sir?
What was your project about?
My project was about characterization of wear, testing on a pin testing machine. That means there is a disc on which a pin rests, a force is applied from above, and the disc rotates at a particular RPM, and for a couple of minutes we have to test it. Thereafter, the change of the mass is recorded, and accordingly the wear of the material is characterized. So we had fabricated the machine, testing was done by other group. We had fabricated the machine. The prototype is there in COEP.
Fabricated, right from scratch. So what was the material with which it was made?
Aluminium. The body was aluminium. Disc had coating of cast irons and different materials. We did one disc, but it required some many more. So probably the next students, those who are continuing, may have done some other coating also.
How many people worked in this project along with you?
For fabrication, 3. I along with my other 2 friends. And testing, it was the 2 other people. So total 5 members of the project.
And where in industry do we apply this?
It's not given to an industry or it is not working in industry. It is working in my college as well as COP as a research.
No. But if I want to use this sort of a technology,
this may be done in some research industry. It's not particular because they test the material, the wear of the material.
Okay.
So even
okay.
the company which sells this, it is I don't remember the name. It is from Bangalore. Even they sell it only for research purpose. It's not like a particular component of any industry is tested on it. It is only a material which is tested, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Because the size is very narrow. You cannot test anything other than
Larger
pin.
than that.
Pin.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Thank you.
So in that case, a very simple question is, I think your father works in.
Police Surveillance Department.
So what does that job entail?
So it caters to the communication requirement of the police force, right from Gadchiroli area to the Sindhudurg coast, all hills, in that sense. So it's a wireless communication which is needed for it's a back office of the main executive police force.
Okay. Okay. How long has he been working with them?
So more than 25 years.
More than 25 years. So he might be closing on his retirement now.
Sir.
Okay. So how critical in a state like Maharashtra, especially given the fact that it's quite a diverse state and you have so many other parts of India wherein you have a difficulty as far as terrain,
Sir.
geography is concerned, is something like the police wireless service critical? So how critical do you think is it as far as the functioning of the police force is concerned?
So it's very critical. Before I said that it's certainly like a back office. So when we think from a perspective of how the back office works, if it fails, unfortunately, if it fails, then those who are in the area, say Gadchiroli, let's take an example of Gadchiroli. It has happened that the Naxalites steal these walkie-talkies and they start communicating it. Rather, they intercept the communication. So this is the way why it is critical, because once it gets lost or if it stops, then entire police force working is helpless because they cannot know the position. Because even in Naxalite area or in some other area, when some like 26/11 happened in Mumbai, there was a terror attack in Mumbai. That time what happens, that there are code languages. So say if Mr. A is calling Mr. B, instead of this, it is the password is set like Ms. Himalaya is talking to Sahinadri. If this gets lost, the Himalaya also doesn't know with whom I am communicating, but the terrorists know. So why it is critical? Because once it stops, the ground force is helpless. They have no other means of communication. So hence it's very much critical, because whatever they work, it is because of the back office provided by this particular branch.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sir.
This system of communication was established in colonial times.
Yes. Telegraph lines and all.
Yeah.
Yes.
And more or less, if you look at the basic architecture of it, there hasn't been much of change in it. So it's like more or less working exactly along the same lines. You might have brought in new gadgets, but more or less it's working along the same lines, the same principles as were established during colonial times, during British times. Okay. Do you have any idea as to how do police forces outside India, when it comes to communicating between themselves, now communicate? So for example, this is something that was done by the British. So do the British use the same technology or do the British use a different technology?
So I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware.
You have no idea about it. Okay. Well, I'm just like curious in terms of understanding as to how does the whole thing work in India, and is it like different from how it works outside India, especially given the fact that if something got to do with technologies, I thought I'd better ask you.
Sir, if you permit me, I can just give you one example. That there was a discussion going on in wireless department Pune that we are going to take help of some Chinese delegation which was there a couple of years before.
Okay.
So in terms of infrastructure and some technologies like 4G long-term evolution, big data, IoT, Internet of Things and all, they have prospered. I'm not aware exactly what is going to be there. But still, it is at nascent stage.
Okay. It's merely at a discussion stage.
Yes.
It's not going anywhere beyond that. Since there's Kashmir, which was mentioned by you earlier in some context, the state of Jammu and Kashmir was divided into 2 union territories.
Sure.
Okay, and this was like quite unusual for a simple reason, because throughout India's constitutional evolution, what we have witnessed is union territories getting upgraded to the level of states, but states never been turned into union territories. So this was like unusual sort of a thing, that you had a state being turned into 2 union territories. you have any idea about why does one of the union territories, that is Jammu and Kashmir, have a legislative assembly, whereas the second one doesn't have any provision for a legislative assembly? It should merely be governed by the Lieutenant Governor. So why was that sort of a division being made?
Sir, I can make a guess that
Okay.
Honorable Prime Minister has said that after the normalization of the things, it will be re-granted its stateship. That is, it will be again the
No. I'm not worried about what happens at what level. That's forget that. But when this was divided, what was the logic that underpinned this idea that one part of the state would have a legislative assembly, the other part will not have a legislative assembly, whereas when you had the state in existence, both parts had a representation in the state legislature. So ideally, it should have been a case that both parts do have a legislative assembly, but one part is a legislative assembly and the other part doesn't.
Sir, no, I don't know.
You have no idea.
I'm sorry, sir.
Okay. You have any idea about in the present situation in which we are? Do the two parts, the two union territories, have a common lieutenant governor, or do they have two separate lieutenant governors?
Sir, two separate lieutenant governors.
Two separate lieutenant governors. So it's not a common lieutenant governor through whose office this is working.
Sir.
Okay. Now, when you look at this, multiple reasons, multiple ways by which it was argued as to why was it necessary to go about changing the constitutional structure as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. The debate is on, and the debate will possibly go until kingdom come. It's never going to stop. In your opinion, as a student of political science, do you know of a similar situation in any part of the world wherein to bring down an insurgency, to bring it under control, some government has tried out something as unusual as this? So it's complete change as far as the constitutional structure of a territory is concerned.
Say the world level?
In countries other than India, wherein they have faced an insurgency and they have gone in for a complete overhaul as far as the constitutional structure itself is concerned of the territory.
Sir, Gilgit-Baltistan area I'm thinking of, but I'm not sure.
Gilgit-Baltistan had an insurgency.
Not insurgency, but there was some kind of law and order problems prevailing.
No, I'm saying an insurgency was present in some territory, and the government governing the territory decides that the territory has to undergo profound change.
No, I'm not aware.
You're not aware of that. Okay, in the Indian context where this has been done, one of the reasons which was advanced is, well, for 70 years we have lived with Article 370 and it has just not worked. On the other hand, it has created a sense of separatism, a sense of alienation, and to, in some way or the other, get a handle over it, it's necessary to abrogate Article 370. Okay. Of course, the case is sub judice, and one does understand that the Supreme Court of India is going to have some sort of perspective on this. But in a very purely academic sort of a situation, if one is to think of it as a student of political science, how would you look at this decision? And how would you sort of evaluate what has happened ever since the status was changed?
Sir, in my view, whatever wanted to be done, it should have been done by taking the consideration of views of the people, rather the electorate. Because I know that the Article 370 and specifically 35A in Indian Constitution created some problems like state citizenship, and it prevented or prohibited the development of some industries due to the land problem, land acquisition, because it is not possible for outsider to get the land, and some other issues. But there are some concerns which say that the electorate should have been taken into consideration, because according to the constitutional structure, it is the Constituent Assembly of the state of Jammu and Kashmir which is supposed to propose, and Honorable President of India to approve it. So people were not at all involved in any kind of decision which has happened.
But to counter it, the other side would always insist on this, that the Constituent Assembly ceased existence a long time ago. So Constituent Assembly technically is not even present now.
Sir.
Which sort of grants Article 370 a certain sort of permanence. And along with it, if one takes this factor into consideration that it has fostered a sense of separatism and alienation, a certain permanence to this sense of alienation and separatism.
So Article 3, yes, I understand that the Constituent Assembly ceased to exist in 1957 itself. But given one chance, the legislature of Jammu and Kashmir would have been empowered to do it because they are the representative of the people there. So the technical understanding should have been the Constituent Assembly should be hereafter constituted to have meaning of the legislature of the state.
Okay.
They would have been more true to justify the downgrading or proposing it to the Honorable President. Unfortunately, I must say in this case what they have done, that it is only by the governor's order everything has been done. So the representative of the people were not given any chance to air their views in any case. So if that means the people who are accountable to the outside, the population of Jammu and Kashmir, they themselves have no opinion in this. Only a person who has been appointed by union is relieving all orders. So that is not, I would say it is inappropriate.
Okay. But then, you think this would have a certain sort of impact on the situation? Would it change the situation from what we intended to do when we decided that this should be done?
Sir, now there is wait and watch over the entire episode because many of the political personalities are in lockdown and still army and CRPF all are there. Now we would like to see how it returns to normalcy. That has not been done. Even the internet connection is only up to 2G level. Even that is being snapped. So how it would actually impact when the security forces withdraw, no one knows. I cannot comment on it at this moment of time.
Okay. And also given the fact that we don't know of a similar situation outside,
Sir,
we are not in a position to even compare things as to how would it work across the place. Okay. Shantanu, tell me one thing. There's this person of Indian origin who has a connection with Maharashtra as far as his origin is concerned, who is also the Prime Minister of a European country. Are you aware of who is it that I'm talking of?
Sir, I don't recollect the surname, but it's the Prime Minister of Ireland.
Okay.
But I don't recollect the surname.
Okay, that's fine. And over the weekend, the Irish voted in the parliamentary elections. So you have any idea about would Prime Minister Leo Varadkar continue in his position as Prime Minister after the polls, or would there be a change in it?
Sir, I have not gone through the entire political process.
Okay.
Shantanu,
Sir,
you must have at least gone through the latest tally as to what
Delhi elections?
Yes, Delhi elections.
Sir, I have gone through.
And if you look at the results of other assemblies in recent past, let us say, 1 year,
Okay.
maybe more than that, but not say more than 2 years ago. So people are voting in general elections for Lok Sabha in one way, and when it comes to state, we get to see a different pattern.
Sir,
Now, is it completely a new phenomena or what? It has been the case.
Sir, it had been case in some states previous before, because in Maharashtra during 1990s we had a different government at center and different government at state, probably in the time span of 4 to 5 years.
Okay, so it's not a new thing.
But the new thing has some new dimensions also.
Like?
Because for the general elections to Lok Sabha, the issues floated were totally national, which is quite natural. In assemblies which you are saying, which you referred to, in those assemblies also the party at the center kept on floating the national issues. So this is some new dimension, that there is a mix of national issues as well as state issues in legislative assembly elections also. So this is a new dimension to it. So yes, it has reoccurred previously, but the voter behavior is influenced by other things also.
No. How would you read this? A
Sir,
different pattern.
Sir, given the state of elections in Maharashtra, the issues like abrogation of or downgrading of Jammu and Kashmir, Article 370, Balakot airstrikes, Pulwama attack, though these issues are very much important as an Indian, but the elections are basically cater to the people at the ground level issues. So what people, the choice which people made naturally had an inclination towards the issues which cater to their routine lives. Hence, there must have been some change in the voting pattern. So there is mix of national issues and state issues into one particular election, even though the election is fought at the state level.
Okay, and
So
same,
this
same applies to even whatever happened in Delhi.
No, sir. Delhi, this time the Delhi elections are on a totally different plan. The ruling party at the center has totally gone hyper-local. I would say hyper-local. It's not even local, hyper-local, because instead of big rallies, they did conduct big rallies, but the booth policy or other the booth management, if you look at that particular, they are focusing on small rallies and small sections of population. So in this case of Delhi, they did not bring many national issues. They are focusing on some particular issue, and while addressing the population, they are going on local level.
You are talking about what, AAP or BJP?
BJP, sir, ruling
BJP.
party at center.
Okay, okay. Now, if you are asked to point out major takeaways
In
the Delhi election results, from the Delhi election results, what would be those?
major takeaways would be the way people have started looking, the perception of the people has changed. Honorable Chief Minister of Delhi has continuously been saying that I'm going to focus on education, health, and some of the basic issues facing the common people. So people, though things like some major changes like Article 370 and some citizenship amendment, these issues are there, but still the ground realities which people face in their day-to-day lives, people are focusing on that. So takeaway is that bereft of any communal and other such ideologies and other things, we must cater to what people really like or other what they face in day-to-day lives. If we cater to these particular issues and if we improve upon that, people do respond, as we have seen in the recent elections of Delhi.
And what can you say about the takeaways for BJP?
BJP in this particular election, I would like to say that they did not promote anyone as a chief ministerial face, or they did not come down upon what particular measures they are really going to float once they get elected. Simply taking someone like taking on like Shaheen Bagh or something like CAA, this will not help, because on one side, if you say it is not going to affect Indian Muslims or in any community of India, then if it doesn't cater to India, then it's better if you look at the policies which cater to the Indian people. So BJP should learn that we must have focus on local issues and direct impinge upon the issues or the measures that would remove people out of abject poverty, should improve health, education, and these issues should be there for the BJP.
Now, just bring in one more thing. A national party and the regional parties. Now, how do you read this result, especially from the perspective of regional parties?
There cannot be any representative statement made here, because AAP has a big doesn't have a big history. It evolved from an anti-corruption movement spearheaded by a crusader like Anna Hazare sir. Thereafter, it took on the Delhi elections in 2014 as a beginning, and it stuck itself to that particular constituency, that is the state of Delhi. Outside, it has not evolved much. So we cannot say that it's a regional party versus a national party in all the states, because even other states, if we compare the entire system of India as a political system, then in states like Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, again the national party has supported. Though the regional parties in Jharkhand, Mr. Soren has sworn in as chief minister. In Maharashtra, Shiva Sena has been there in the government. So regional parties again have started rising, but still they need the support of the major national parties. So it's time to evolve for the total regionalization of politics. National parties do count.
Okay. You have done engineering in production.
Sir.
Production engineering. Artificial intelligence. Okay. Still it is in a
Infancy.
yes primary stage. But how do you look at, say, down the line after 5 years, the impact of artificial intelligence on the production process, technologies?
So in production process, where artificial intelligence will be put most to the use is on the conveyor belts and workshops, shop floors, because there are used 2 to 3 kilometer shop floor lines on which each worker is given a specified task, like threading a nut or bolt in that way. So in artificial intelligence, if they combine the decision making aspect as to what should happen if this problem crops up. So in production engineering, this on shop floors and conveyor belts, this might be the best application.
Okay.
Up to the decision making if the problem evolves, because once a problem evolves, the entire shop floor stops because the conveyor belt stops if that particular operation it doesn't work. So if there is someone to take decision instead of a human being, and if there are going to be technological solutions to fix that problem, I think it would be faster.
Now, I mean, what should be our approach? Let us see, India's approach.
Sir?
What should be India's approach?
We should go ahead in artificial intelligence, but the ethical aspect also needs to be fixed, because there can be artificial intelligence in weaponry also, in warfield also. We cannot leave the decision making in these critical sectors to the machines or robots who have no ethical impulse, who cannot have a moral judgment in them. So final decision making has to be rested with human being.
And if asked to focus on the socio-economical aspect of that,
Socio-economical aspects are, yes, it might be an X falling on the jobs, but new jobs may be equally created in algorithms and some processes, and we can have some new job systems also, because disruptive technology is going to be the norm hereafter. So we cannot stop the evolution of artificial intelligence if we have to be competitive in global economy. That's what the world is going to transform. Because even in share market, if we trade like humans, that's a different issue. But algorithmic trading produces completely different, faster results. So AI will surely be the future of Indian economy, as Niti Aayog has also started with it, specific plan also. But we can focus on reskilling and upskilling, and we can have a specific committee how future jobs will evolve. As a Reddy Commission has said that the traditional courses in engineering like chemical, mechanical, electrical, now they should be stopped for next 20 years. Now full-fledged courses on AI, big data, IoT, nanotechnology, these should be started so as to cater to the new job requirements. So when we complain that yes, we are going to lose some jobs, but it's equally true that new jobs will be coming up, and for that we have to be ready actually.
okay.
So it's a good project.
Okay, fine. See, Supreme Court of India, in connection with reservations and promotion,
Sir.
came up with a judgment yesterday. Have
Okay.
you gone through that?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Okay, fine. A recent agreement took place between central government and the Bodo.
Yes, sir. Assam.
You have gone through it. That-
Yes, sir. National Democratic
Now,
Front.
what is
of-
new in that?
Sir, previously all factions were not on board. This time some many factions like all Bodo Students Union has been there. Expansion of Bodoland Territorial Region. Council has been renamed as a region, and there is some sort of expansion also. There is a package of 1,500 crores specifically. So some developments have taken place, like expanded coverage to that particular area. And some more factions are on the board.
But there are certain serious concerns yet.
So there are concerns like Poch Rajbansis and some other communities, they are again complaining regarding, they have not been taken into consideration regarding the expanded rights to this particular community. And some of the factions are still not on board.
Okay, like,
So I'm not aware of that
okay,
name.
okay. And what would be the rough population of Bodos in the region?
Sir?
Population of Bodos.
Figure? Population?
Yes. Size you can say, percentage you can say.
30%.
Around 30%.
30%.
Okay, and who are the 70%? The remaining 70%?
So there are many tribes,
Okay.
other tribes also.
So, no one dominant tribe.
No,
you
sir.
just say.
In my judgment, there are more than 34 tribes in Assam.
Okay,
I have read, I'm not sure exactly the number, but there are more than 35 tribal communities who reside in Assam.
okay, fine. Now, any priorities once you enter civil services? Any priorities? Do you have any priorities in your mind?
Sir, priority as far as the civil services profession is concerned is some sort of discipline has to be enforced for the people who are in the government offices, because people keep complaining that there are no particular time frames. The Citizens Charter is there, which says that in 90 days the popular civil servant has to give a reply, but that doesn't happen. So some discipline aspect has to be encouraged, it has to be enforced by some actions.
No, discipline. So, means what?
if, the punctuality, obedience, and catering to rules, regulations in a perfect manner, so that the people themselves don't transgress it.
Now, why that is not taking place right now?
Because enforcement mechanisms are not deterring them. There is no swift action, there is no punishment.
What would be the reasons for that?
Sir, in some central service rules, all India services rules, the consent of the government authorities and all these takes much long space and time. So if we could cut it short, that would be the best solution. And also, next, the again important priority would be in health sector also, because given the conditions of primary health centers in rural areas, the conditions are grim, and according to some of the reports, what generally happens is the medicines are also supplied by government, but there are some cartels working where they take the medicines out and they sell it over the counters outside. So actually it is not catering to. This has been even demanded by Amte family from Maharashtra, and Padma Shri Mr. Kolhe from Maharashtra, that the health system is not at all in good condition as far as tribal areas concerned. Recent budget also says that the total expenditure on health outlay is only 69,000 crore, and on the health research it is barely 2,100 crore. On the total proportion it is just 1.6% of the GDP, which should be more than say 4%. So how to improve that particular health situation if government is not coming up to that particular level? How to ascertain the status of NGOs and hope in those NGOs will be some of my priority areas.
Okay. See, this is the last year as far as the decade is concerned.
Sir.
Now, if you are asked to point out 4 major problems faced by the decade.
Okay, four major problems.
Yes.
As far as India or at the
Larger, at
global level.
Yeah.
The first problem comes to my mind is regarding climate change.
Okay.
4th consecutive hottest year on the planet.
1.
That's our first problem. Second, overall, there is democracy deficit which has been observed, right, from US to Afghanistan. Third, growing menace of terrorism, I find, from African nations to European, even UK. And fourth problem is that the trade wars have started. So it was not the picture in 2011-12 up to 2015, but after that, due to hegemony of one particular nation, the regionalization of trade has happened and regional trade pacts have started mushrooming. So somewhere it has been a drag on the global growth, which is barely 2.9% according to IMF.
Now, if you are asked the same question, keeping in mind the coming decade, so what kind of challenges are likely to be faced?
As far as the first issue which surfaced, like the climate change, I don't think there will be major improvement, because there has been no improvement in global emissions, which has been reported by United Nations UNFCCC.
So that would be the first one.
So I don't think that's a major challenge. That's the biggest challenge, how to rope in the global emissions. And US and these big emitters have started withdrawing themselves. So how to fix accountability? So this climate challenge is the first and the biggest challenge. Then the next challenge is again how to settle these trade wars, because the mechanism which we created in 1995, that is the WTO, that is again limping because the dispute settlement authority, and again they are not being appointed. So trade, because trade is going to directly correlate with the growth, so trade is again going to be a major challenge. And third, no one knows how this terrorism will come to an end. Each of them, each nation, at each platform, they say that we all unitedly we are going to wage a war against terrorism. But nothing has been coming out, as we have seen in Afghanistan, as we have seen in African nations, that the Hamas, Hezbollah in the Middle East and all. So actually it is proliferating instead of coming to an end. Some of them may claim that ISIS has stopped in Syria, but actually they have stopped in that particular domain, but thereafter they have spread to many new areas. Probably they may be in India also.
What would be the last one, fourth one?
No, in the coming decade, these are the three.
Okay.
Because democracy, that way, there are waves of democracy. So it may come to an end. There may be again some demographic things which may recover it.
Okay. Thank you, Shantanu.
Thank you, sir.
दी युनिक अकॅडमीचे नवनवीन व्हिडिओज आणि अपडेट्स मिळवण्यासाठी लाईक करा, सबस्क्राईब करा आणि शेअर करा.